literary analysis. Let's dive in.
All right, let's talk about something that can feel a little daunting, analyzing literature. But what if I told you that you're already doing it every single day without even realizing it?
Yeah, I know. For a lot of us, just hearing the words literary analysis brings on a cold sweat. You start thinking about high school essays, red ink. It just sounds complicated, right? A bit scary.
But here's the thing, and this is the big secret. You're actually way better at this than you think. In fact, you're pretty much an expert. The same mental muscles you use to figure out a story, you're using them all the time.
See, this isn't some stuffy academic thing. It's a core life skill, and you're using it constantly, probably without a second thought.
I mean, think about it. When you look at a map, you don't just stare at the endpoint, right? No, you're analyzing the turns, the traffic, the shortcuts to figure out the best way to get there. Or a recipe. You break it down into ingredients and steps to get to that delicious final dish. You're taking the parts to understand the whole. That right there is analysis.
So all we need to do is apply that same kind of thinking to literature. And to do that, we're going to use a super simple but really powerful three-stage framework. Seriously, think of this as your roadmap, your secret decoder ring for any book, poem, or story you pick up. Okay, so here are the three stages. Stage 1 is comprehension. That's just the what. What literally happens. Stage 2, interpretation. This is the how and why. How did it happen and why? And stage 3, drawing conclusions. This is the big one, the so what. So what's the point of it all? Let's dive in. All right, first things first. Stage 1, comprehension. This is our foundation. You can't build a house without one, right? This is just about getting the lay of the land. Who are the characters? What's the basic plot? Where is it all happening? We got to know this stuff before we can dig any deeper.
And to make this super clear, we're going to use an example pretty much everyone knows, the good old story of the tortoise and the hare. It's short, it's simple, and it's absolutely perfect for watching these three stages work their magic.
So let's do a quick comprehension check. What happens in the story? Well, we've got two main characters, a super boastful hare and a quiet, steady tortoise. The plot? They decide to race, the hare is so far ahead he gets cocky and takes a nap, and the tortoise just keeps plugging away and wins. Simple enough, right? Boom. That's comprehension.
Okay, so we've got the what totally locked down. Now we move on to stage 2, interpretation. And honestly, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where we start peeling back the layers and looking for what's going on underneath the surface. This is the fun part.
Think of it like this. We're shifting from the surface to the substance. We're not just looking at what the story says anymore. Now we're asking what it means. We're reading between the lines of everything, the characters, the plot, all of it. So let's apply this to our story. The hare, he's not just a fast bunny. He represents something bigger, like arrogance, or a word we'll get to later, hubris. And the tortoise, he's not just slow. He stands for perseverance, for never giving up. The nap itself isn't just a nap. The story tells us he does it to show contempt. Wow. That one word changes everything. It tells us the nap is symbolic of his massive ego.
And this is so important to remember. Authors make choices. Nothing in a good story is there by accident. Every single word, every decision, it's all on purpose. And our job as analysts is to be detectives and figure out why they made those choices.
Take personification, for instance. That's just a fancy word for giving human qualities to non-human things. In our story, the animals talk and have complex emotions. Why would the author do that? Well, it's a clever way to talk about very human problems, like pride and hard work, in a way that feels simple and timeless.
Another big choice is the point of view. The story is told by a narrator who isn't in the story. That's third person, but we get this little peek inside the hare's head. That's how we know he took a nap, to show contempt. That little detail is everything. It reveals his true character. Without it, the story just wouldn't hit the same way.
And that brings us to this key idea. Hubris. You've probably heard that word. It's not just regular pride. It's that over-the-top, blinding pride that makes you think you can't possibly lose. It is the hare's fatal flaw. The entire story happens because of this one single character trait. Okay, so we've figured out what happened, and we've dug into the how and why. Now it's time for the final piece of the puzzle, drawing conclusions. This is where we step back, put it all together, and look at the big picture. This is the so what stage. After all that work, we ask, so what? What's the point? What is this story really trying to tell us about I don't know, life? About people?
For the tortoise and the hare, the conclusions are pretty straightforward, right? The big themes are things like perseverance, modesty, and the dangers of that hubris we talked about. The message? That being arrogant is a recipe for disaster. And the moral of the story, the one we all learned as kids, is slow and steady wins the race.
And you know, in some of the original versions of this fable, the author basically spells it out for us. The last line is, "Plotting wins the race," which is just a slightly old-fashioned way of saying that having a plan and sticking to it, that consistent effort, is more important than just being naturally gifted.
And that's it. Just like that, you've walked through a complete literary analysis. From the basic plot all the way to the deep meaning. This little 3-stage framework, it's now officially part of your toolkit.
So just remember those 3 simple steps. 1. Comprehend what happens. 2. Interpret how and why does it happen. Look at the author's choices. And 3. Conclude. What does it all mean? What's the so what? It's a process that can take you from just reading words to understanding the giant ideas behind them.
So next time you're reading something or even watching a movie, give this a try. Don't just let the story wash over you. Use this framework, ask the questions. I promise, you'll be amazed at what you find. Every story is packed with hidden meanings just waiting to be discovered. The only question left is, what are you going to find?